Hello, I'm Rico Caviglia, and this is your Ageless Body Self-Care Guide, Operations Manual for your body and for your mind. And the title of today's session is Spinal Health. So important. And we're very fortunate to have a great expert and teacher today. His name is Dr. Ryan Wolford, and he has helped thousands of patients upgrade their brain, energy, and longevity online and in his multiple wellness, chiropractic, and nutritional clinics. He is an EYL certified mindset specialist and certified chiropractic sports physician with specialized training as a strength and conditioning specialist. And his goal is to help people break free from dependence on a broken health system and be your own guarantee. So, Dr. Wolford, thanks so much for being here with us today.
Rico, I love the name of this summit and project you're doing here. Ageless Body. I love it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I really, yeah, I really appreciate you being here. And just again to say that it's been a really great product. We're getting so many great experts with some really great information, and I'm really looking forward to your interview today. So let's get right into it. And let's just begin with talk about the role the spine actually plays in our body and how vital it is to all body functions and especially to brain function as well.
Well, absolutely. Because this is, I think, spinal health and posture as well. Because your spine gives rise to your posture. It's the core of your body, and it's very misunderstood. And I believe it's the biggest secret to a long, active, energetic life. And then I'll even share some research that backs that up from some very well-known musculoskeletal doctors, MDs, that have written dozens of books on the topic. When I got started, and I'm going to go back to how I got started in spine, in treating posture, helping people get great posture, and why is, when I was a kid, and this was, Enrico, you and I were talking about this, years and years and years ago. I thought that spine was just all about pain. If you have pain in your back, then okay, it's something wrong with your spine. But now, over the years, I've come to realize through my training, through treating thousands of people, and then even among the best spine specialists in the world, we know that it's not just about pain. That is one symptom that you can get from a dysfunctional spine and getting out of that normal, ideal posture and alignment of the spine. But because, guess what? The spine houses your spinal cord, which is an extension of your brain. So if our posture, if our spine is dysfunctional and out of alignment or imbalanced, it can cause stress, whether you feel it or not, in the spine, in those nerves. And those nerves go all throughout your body. They go down to your feet. They go to every single organ in your body, every 7 trillion cells it goes to. So it's not just about pain. Now, when I was a kid, I was always active. I was with my brothers, playing out in my backyard, riding bikes, basketball, baseball, wiffle ball, football, everything, all through elementary school, high school. And I didn't have any really back pain, but one thing I did have, I was sick all the time. I had colds 4 or 5 times a year, every time the weather changed. Now, I grew up in Michigan and I live in Michigan right now. So we have weather changes maybe multiple times a day. And you might be led to believe, and my mom told me that too, it's like, oh, it's the weather change your body or whatever. And for the weather to change and my body to react that way, again, looking back now, I realized there was something just off. Mm-hmm. So I would get sick, colds, 2-3 weeks at a time, hacking cough. So if you add that up, I was sick about 2 months, 3 months out of the year. Again, that's not normal for your body to do that, for my body to do that as an 8, 9, 10-year-old, even up into the early teens. So this is an even unbelievable part of it. I remember having bladder infections. So as a little boy, that's very uncommon. I would be going to the bathroom 17, 18, 19 times a day, and wow, it would burn. So obviously, looking back, my immune system was not functioning very well. I didn't know why. My parents, my mom, dad, they thought it was, the weather. They thought it might've been the wood burning stove that we had. But even when we even got rid of the wood burning stove and I was active, I would still get this. But what changed my perspective and what changed actually the course of my life into holistic versus maybe drugs was this. It wasn't even the colds. It was, I was sitting in my 8th grade social studies class, and all of a sudden I couldn't read. I couldn't see the words on the page. You know, if you look at the sun, it's a nice, bright, sunny day today here. And if you look at the sun or a light, you get that spot, you know, this like spots, and I couldn't see. Well, about 10 minutes after that, now my hand starts getting tingly. My arm gets that numbness, tingly feeling, then even down into my leg. But the scariest part was 10 minutes after that. The teacher asked me a question and I couldn't speak. The words just wouldn't come out. Again, I was in the 8th grade. I was 13 years old. I didn't know what the heck was going on. But a half hour after that first symptom started, that's when I got my first migraine headache at 13 years old. And I still remember it. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a headache. I didn't know it was a migraine headache. I just knew it was the worst headache I've ever had. I went home and slept. And again, I'm assuming my mom gave me some Tylenol or some over-the-counter stuff. I can't remember that exactly. But over the next couple of days, it gradually got better. But what happened was the week after that, well, what do you think happened? It happened again because I didn't do anything to correct it or fix it or even find the cause of it. But this time I knew I was going to get a headache. I knew it was coming because I got the spots. I got that tingly feeling. I went down to the school office and asked the school secretary. And I asked her, I said, I'm about to get a headache. Do you have any ibuprofen or Tylenol? And what she said changed the course of my life, because she could have said, yes, here you go. Or she could have just said nothing. She might have not even said this. What she said, which changed my life, was, you know what? It sounds like you have a pinched nerve. You should go see my chiropractor. And because she shared that with me, and I'm happy to be here to share this with the viewers and listeners and you too, Rico, because it changed my life. Because, you know, at that time, drugs were getting more and more common for all these symptoms. So she called my mom, told my mom took me to see the chiropractor. And long story short, he took some x-rays of my spine and he showed me and my mom and showed what it should look like versus what mine did. And he's like, look, your head's on crooked. It's not like I had the training to do that, or my mom or my dad or anybody around me, or even my primary care doctor, because they're not trained in that, and that's fine. That's not their specialty. But I just look back at that as I've started, gone through my career and added more onto this whole holistic approach that I take. And I'll explain that in a second, but we're going to come back to spine because it's so important. And so I don't want it to be a secret anymore. And yes, the spinal manipulations or adjustments that you get once or twice a year, they're great. But if you have an underlying issue in the spine, not only can it cause pain, but not all the time, because your body is really good at dealing with that. But it might cause migraines like me. It might cause low energy, might cause lowered immune system function, might cause accelerated degeneration, arthritis, because your spine and the stress points of your posture is putting different stress points on these areas. And now guess what's coming out of the spine is the nerve, so it irritates that too.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. I know that it's kind of common that some people with a herniated disc don't have any pain or symptoms at all, and then other people can have a herniated disc and maybe not have pain, but then they have some symptoms. So why do you think that is?
It's how your brain works, because it's, for some people, it's not bad enough for the brain to say, all right, do something about it. And for other people where they do feel the pain, because your brain is constantly, this is where the brain comes in too, with just pain in general and symptoms, is your brain is great at dampening or inhibiting these signals that it doesn't find dangerous to your body yet. Okay. Yeah, over 50% of the people, I know there's been different studies done, but I would say, and most of them, 50% of the people walking around with no back pain or leg pain have maybe not a herniated disc, but maybe a bulging disc, because your body can compensate for that in different ways. Our bodies are masters of compensation. So yes, that's why that can happen. But you might not feel the pain, but if it's just creating pressure changes around the nerve and the nerve root that is going to your intestines, well, now it's like putting maybe not completely kink in the hose, but let's say only it's kinked 20%. It's the same thing. It's very similar, I should say, with eating and nutrition. I mean, we can eat junk food, but it's not going to affect us right away most of the time as far as causing our body to wear down. But if we keep adding on like 20%, 30% poor nutrition, that is going to add up. It's going to accumulate. It's the same thing on the organs. It's the same thing on if the nerve function to the organs is dampened and it's not functioning correctly. So yeah, that's why I call it function, because I'm going to go back and just explain, like, again, my philosophy or my holistic, I call it the 6-pack of healthy longevity. And spine is part of that. It's one of the 6. I call it function because all function comes from your brain down through your spinal cord, inside your spine to every nervous system, to every cell, tissue, and organ. And so function, that is what we're going to talk about today in spinal health and posture. But then the other 5 are focus, which is your mindset. That's another big part of it. That's part of the brain and almost like the unconscious habits that we have, and like that drives our actions, habits, and behaviors. There's food, nutrition, that's in there, fitness, exercise, and movement. Then there's faith, purpose, contribution, and then refreshing sleep. So those 6 I put together. Again, that's what I train people to do. And very often there's maybe 3 or 4 of those in many experts' protocols, and that's awesome. But one of the missing pieces, if you want the ultimate performance, energy, longevity, we have to include spinal health, posture into that as well. So those are my 5. And if you notice, they're F words. All right. So you can call them F words. I haven't been able to find one word specifically that begins with an F for sleep. So that's why I took some liberty with refreshing sleep.
Yeah, that's so good. And I'm really glad you mentioned that, because we've covered all those topics with other experts, and that's why I'm so happy to have you talk about spinal health, because again, that's really a biggest key. So talk just before you give us some recommendations of how you can protect and also create a healthy spine and nervous system. Talk a little bit about how spinal health really affects our sympathetic and our parasympathetic nervous systems.
Well, this is the cool part. As I was preparing today, and even just listening to different podcasts, but going back to even my training, the sympathetic, parasympathetic, the autonomic nervous system, it's really big, like right up here on the side of your neck, like right behind your ear. So everybody take your pinky, put it right behind your ear, and that's the area of the brain stem. Obviously we can't get right to the brain stem, but that's the area. There's a high concentration of nerves there in the autonomic nervous system. So the best example of how the autonomic nervous system and your spine is related is Christopher Reeves. Mm-hmm. So most people know who that is. Rico, you know who that is, right?
Yeah.
So Superman from the late 70s, early 80s. What younger generation might not know who that is, but what happened when he was, past his Superman days, was he fell off a horse and he broke his neck. Mm-hmm. Right here, C1. And that dented his spinal cord. It didn't sever his spinal cord, but it dented it like 2 centimeters. So he was a quadriplegic. He couldn't move, which I think most people knew that or understand that. Mm-hmm. But what else? He couldn't breathe without a ventilator. He couldn't, his heart wouldn't continue to function. It could function for a little bit. So he had to have a pacemaker and a defibrillator. His bowels didn't move or didn't work. All right. He didn't fall on his intestines. He fell and broke up here. So the autonomic nervous system, which affects and controls your breathing, your hormone production, your temperature regulation, your Well, obviously going to the bathroom, all these automatic things that you don't even have to think about, your digestion, that stopped working because he harmed and hurt the nervous system up there. So that's how it affects, and your spine health is so important. Now, obviously, that is a case so you can see that. But if you don't break that, great. But if you have that low level of irritation right up there, even anywhere down the spine, going to the specific nerves that go to the organs, there's backup, but it's not going to function and it give you that ageless body that we're looking for as part of this operations manual.
Yeah, well, that's such a good example of that. Thank you very much for that. Well, let's give our viewers and our customers some ideas of what some concrete things that they can begin to do right now to not only to create a healthier spine and protect their spine, and so they can have a healthy nervous system.
Absolutely. Now, for those of you listening, raise your hand if you've ever said, "Oh, my posture is horrible." And I hear that all the time from people, and it's just like something you talk about but don't really do. And how do you know if it's bad or not? So I'm going to give you first like what it should look like. Right. So looking at you from the front, okay, it should be lined up like a building, right? We don't want that leaned off to the side. That gives it its structure and its strength. So we want it straight. If we stripped everything away and we saw your spine from the front, we want it from here down through the pelvis straight. Now, so the severe case is a scoliosis, where it's the big curve off to the side. Again, most people don't have what's classified as a scoliosis, but they might have what we call a translation, either in the neck or rib cage, the trunk area. I shouldn't say most people, but that would be more common than what a classic scoliosis would be. And you might be surprised that, I should say, you might look in the mirror or think, as I get into this posture, you're like, there's no way I wouldn't know if I had that. So I have a long neck here. So God gifted me with that because he knew I was going to be in this profession and having to get in these different postures. So just look at your nose to your chest. When you're looking in the mirror, your nose, again, if it's relatively straight, it's not like off to the side, should be lined up with the middle of your chest.
Okay.
But what we see all too often, and that most people don't look at, is their head might be shifted off to the side.
Oh, yeah.
So you can see that.
Mm-hmm.
So just see if your nose is lined up with your chest. What a lot of times goes along with that is if your body is shifted one way and then your head is shifted the other. What did I say 10 minutes ago? Your body is a master of compensations. Mm-hmm. And you might not feel it, but these are the signs. Just like you can't feel your arteries clogging up until maybe you get a heart attack. You can't feel cancer growing inside your body until maybe you get a test done, or it gets bad enough to where you do actually feel it. It's very similar with your spine and posture, causing not just pain, but dis-ease, dysfunction, okay? So that is one little thing. Just look at your posture. Many of us know from your side, we don't want, this forward head posture.
Right.
But just like your nutrition and your weight can gradually increase and you not really be aware of it if you're not paying attention to it, what are we doing most days, in our society? Computers, laptop, gravity is just bringing us down here, and we're making it easier by getting in this kyphotic posture, this hyperkyphosis it's called in the thoracic spine. And remember, what is inside there? So we got our neck, which is, our cervical spine, which has the spinal cord all the way down through the thoracic spine, lumbar spine. So now in this posture, we're stressing and stretching the heck out of that, depending on how severe it is, out of the spinal cord, which is inside the spine, which the spine protects. Okay. So here is, I don't want to say cool, but the interesting part is multiple research articles, studies have showed in Spine Journal. That's not a chiropractic or an alternative healthcare. That is a mainstream medical journal, Journal of the American Geriatric Society. They've shown this in multiple studies that This posture, this hyperkyphosis,
Mm-hmm.
has been shown to can take up to 15 years off of your life.
Wow.
Boom, right there. I want to give you a little background on that. So when I show you things that you can do, that it's easier for you to do them because you understand how it's going to make your body healthier longer. So this
Yeah, that,
hyperkyphosis. Go ahead, Rico.
no, that, I was going to say, yeah. So show us some things that you can do to improve your posture.
So one, awareness. That is the first thing you got to do. So now again, checking your posture. Two, awareness as far as what are you at? Accept that, okay, that's where it is. Take little mini breaks. If you're at the computer, every 15 minutes, put a timer on for 15 minutes, just a little ding to check yourself. Sit up straight. Okay. With your, this here, your little device here, your cell phone. When you're at this, when you're using this, do not put it in your lap. If you're sitting down, don't put it in your lap.
Definitely.
Arms at your side. Hopefully I can show you this a little bit. I'll step out a little. Just put your arms at your side, not here. Look at that. You don't have to do this. Again, people are like, how am I going to do that? When you're driving around next time or walking around and people are on their phones, watch. It's down in their laps like this.
Yeah.
Or even just when they're sitting. Even after I'm done treating them, they go to sit down, and obviously they've been trained now, but sometimes it's that awareness. So that's another thing. An exercise that I love to do, and I will put a caveat to this, is if you are stuck in this position and you might need more help than what I'm just showing you here in this next exercise. So if you're like this and you can't even get in that position, it's not just taking the arms back, it's head, shoulders, squeezing the shoulder blades together. So when you're driving, when you're sitting, squeezing the shoulder blades together, not just taking the arms back or the elbows back, but squeezing there, holding for 10 to 15 or 5 to 10 seconds, tucking your chin in. Okay, that's an exercise there. 10 seconds, 10 seconds, and doing that for a minute. Every 15 to 30 minutes.
That is so good. That's so helpful. I just add one thing that I learned from a yoga teacher many years ago. She said, just take your finger to your nose and go like that, and that'll put your head back in it where it's supposed to be. Because mostly we're like this, so just go like that, and that'll put your head. And also, I just want to add, what I do for my posture is, just when you're out someplace, look around, and you'll see. Just look at other people, and you'll see how many people have bad posture, and that reminds me to make sure I'm straightened up and walking with good posture. And the other thing I always say too is that our posture is a true measure of your age. How good is your posture and how well you can move.
And that's true, because posture, and this has been shown in the American Journal of Pain Management way back in the 90s, posture affects and moderates every physiologic function from breathing to hormone production. Spinal pain, headache, mood, blood pressure, pulse, lung capacity are among the functions most easily influenced by your posture. Another one, I want to share this because this is huge. This is a great line or a great finding from, I got to look here for a second. Rene Callier, MD. He's a former director of the Department of Physical Medicine at USC. To live a long, active, energetic life, few things matter more than good posture. Just like he said, Rico. So if if it's hard for you now, an advanced or a more, rather than just that, you can take your hands, put them behind your head and neck. All right, sitting up in the chair or even standing up, elbows back, chin back, squeezing the shoulders blades.
That feels good too.
So it activates all those, but those three things where you have to watch out, because a lot of times if you're stuck in this hyperkyphotic posture, it's there. So you take your head back, but then your elbows go like this. And then if your elbows go there and you try to push them forward, then your head goes there. So it's those three things. Elbows, head, shoulders back, squeezed. So that's a more of an advanced one on top of just keeping your head up straight.
That's so good.
If you really want to take it to the next level, exercise sometimes will not correct the posture, we need to do some form of, I mean, it sounds scary, maybe traction.
Yeah.
It's not the old world traction or, the torture rack, anything like that. Very simply, what you can do to start is we can get a towel, like roll up a towel and just put it underneath this, like the big bone of the bottom of your neck, laying down. So again, I'm not going to lay down for you, but you
Yeah.
lay down 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. And the last thing I'll share is this, as far as action steps. If you really want to live the most active, longest, energetic life, just like Renee Callier said, and if you notice, these are from MDs and medical journals. It's not biased. We're just talking about spine. So if we know that affects our health and our longevity, guess what? We got to know how to fix it. And the experts that know how to fix it, they're called chiropractic biophysics doctors. So if you need help finding one in your area, let me know. If we can't, then I might be able to coach you virtually on how to do it. So that is basically what we can do, because we would find out for you what your normal is and what specifically you would need.
Yeah, that's so good. And I want to remind our viewers that there's a PDF that comes along with this video training. So in there, you'll have all the information of how to contact Dr. Ryan. And I know he has a lot more information and probably some free gifts on his website as well. So you definitely want to connect with him and learn more. And again, I just want to thank you for such great information. It's so beneficial. I do have two more quick little questions for you.
Absolutely.
What kind of a pillow, like a cervical pillow, do you recommend for people to sleep with?
It depends on the position that you sleep in. If you're a side sleeper, I recommend a pillow that's thick enough to support your head and neck. Because obviously, if the broader shoulder you are, you might need a thicker pillow than somebody who's not as broad shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
With, I many people, at least my patients, they might switch back and forth, side, back, side, even stomach. I don't recommend stomach sleeping, because like straight stomach sleeping on your stomach chest, because then your head and neck is turned like this. Okay. But side or back, if you sleep on your back, a thinner pillow is better. So that's where we have to find that sweet spot of, are you mostly a side? Are you mostly a back sleeper? If you're mostly a back sleeper, I would say a thinner pillow with one. I like the contours. So those are good, but just again, something that supports your head and neck.
Okay, very good. And the last question for you is, and this is the hardest one to answer, is that, I always like to say that, knowledge without action is useless, right? So we're getting some great information from all of our experts and from you. So what ideas do you have that maybe can help motivate people and inspire them to actually take some action on the recommendations that you've just given?
That's exactly right. Something I learned. So you mentioned in my bio there, EYL, a certified mindset specialist, and this gets into the whole mindset. And just know that we're always motivated to do something, right? We're either motivated to exercise or we're more motivated to sit on the couch or whatever that alternative is.
Yeah.
Either way, we're motivated. So it's almost like a mindset technique. Ask yourself this, and this is the perfect way. I'm not a just do it type of guy. We have to find where you're at, because to create sustainable habit changes, we have to start slower with some people remember how I talked about your brain is constantly just trying to find out, is this safe or is it stressful? Is it safe or not? And if it doesn't know how to do something, it deems it as unsafe, and it's not going to create the habit or the neural pathway in the brain. So 2 questions to ask yourself is, 1, how important is it for me to reach my goal on a scale of 1 to 10, whatever that goal is? Let's say it's to exercise more or to do this postural exercise more. How important is it to you on a scale of 1 to 10? And this is the little bit here. Let's say you're okay, it's 7 out of 10 in importance. Ask yourself this: why is it a 7 out of 10 and not a 3 out of 10? Now, what that does, it trains your brain to focus on why it is important to you instead of why it is not.
Mhm.
Because I know I've had coaches, I know I've used this in the past until I learned why it doesn't work sustainably. Is if somebody says they're a 7 out of 10, and I would say, well, why isn't it a 10 out of 10? Now, Rico, you're going to start arguing with, or we're going to start discussing why it's not important to you rather than why it is important to you, right? I mean, it's just this, it's how the brain is wired. We want, if we can give it more information on why it is important to us, whatever that goal is, we're going to be motivated more to reach that goal. We're going to find reasons and argue why we want to reach it instead of why we haven't yet. Okay. So that is my big takeaway with how to motivate yourself to reach the goals that you want, to live that, to have that ageless body, to incorporate your focus, food, fitness, function, faith, and refreshing sleep all into your life. If you want to add 2 more F's, make it an 8 bomb, more F bombs, family and fun. Add those 2 as well.
I totally agree. It was so good. And I want to thank you so much. And I just want to remind everybody again that I promise you that if you begin to take action on these recommendations that you're getting from Dr. Ryan and all of our experts, I promise you, I guarantee you, you're going to greatly improve your overall health and well-being and your life experience. So it's just a matter of stepping up and taking the action. So thanks very much for being here. And thank you, Dr. Ryan. That was so good. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Rico.